Good morning, Boker Tov. Welcome back to our 10 Minutes of Meaning weekly. Mesillas Yesharim, the great Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, has provided for us a magnificent and meaningful formula for how to be our best selves, how to live our best lives. I want to thank our generous series sponsors for the year, Jeffrey Gelb, in memory of Mishulem ben David, Shendel Bas David, Avner ben Avram Cohen. Thank you for your generosity. Also this morning, my dear friends, Mira and Jeffrey Gogreb and family, Lina Nishmas, Jeffrey's grandfather, Ephraim Yechiel ben Chaim Shnur on his 34th yahrzeit. Thank you to the Gograbs for all that they do and for their friendship. We continue chapter 19. We're on Perek Yud Tes of Mesillas Yesharim, the path for the just. And as I said, R Moshe Chaim Luzzatto has been reminding us how we can live our best selves, the formula for how to achieve the most in our lives, how to live first with Zehirus. I know I repeat it each and every week, but it's a reminder of what we're meant to be working on. We don't skip right to the middle step. We start from the beginning and we try to accumulate. We try to add. Zehirus, mindfulness, how to live a life of cautiousness, how to be present in all of our thoughts, all of our decisions, all of our actions. Zrizus, alacrity and zeal and enthusiasm and energy, how to set goals and how to pursue them and how to make resolutions. Then we have the midah of nikias, how to recognize and identify the character traits and the qualities that are holding us back and that are weighing us down. And nikias, to purify ourselves, to purge them, to not even struggle with them, to move them from the battlefield to the area of conquered territory. Precious, how to live a life of discipline, how we can prove that we can live with when we know that we've been able to live without, that what we have, the objects, the items, our material possessions do not define us. And then tahara, how to live a life of purity, not only doing the right things, but doing them for the right reasons. And now Chassidus. We have been studying about Chassidus, and as we've been saying, Chassidus is not about a mode of dress, a culture, food, way of speaking. Chassidus is an attitude and mentality. The Chassid, the righteous individual, goes above and beyond, doesn't settle for good enough, wants great. The Chassid, like Chesed, cares about others, is selflessly devoted in the relationship with the people around him or her and with their creator. And the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, has been bringing evidence. He's been bringing source after source to give examples of our great rabbis, of our great righteous people who did not get away with the bare minimum, who it wasn't good enough, but always were striving to do more, to do their best. The Gemara Baba Kama tells us, Amar Rav Yehuda, Haiman de boy lamehavi Chassid. We ended with this last week. Who wants to be a Chassid? How does one achieve Chassidus? How do you earn that title, that appellation? How is one determined to be a Chassid? So the first opinion, L'kayim milei de brachos. The first is master the world of making blessings. You know, when you eat food, you might have worked hard, you earned the money, the income in order to go buy that food. You purchased in the supermarket, you bought at a restaurant, you had delivered to your home. But when you make a bracha, you realize and recognize that you are the junior partner. That in order to access that food, in order to enjoy that sustenance, the very life force that is going to keep us alive and sustain us, we make a blessing, we make a bracha. And when we make a bracha, we take what is an otherwise animal act of eating, we take what is an otherwise material appetite, and we turn it into something spiritual, we turn it into something holy. The chassid, you want to be a chassid? Master the world of brachos. Brachos comes from the word brecha, a flow, the shefa bracha. We connect everything to its source so that I don't just enjoy my food. I don't just enjoy my life as if it's divorced from God, but rather I connect it. I recognize through making a bracha. When I say a blessing, it's a bid for connection. When I say a bracha, when I say a blessing, I am remembering that Hashem is the anchor, He is the source, He is the root of it all. The second opinion is l'kayim milei de nezikin. Master, learn, and study the rules of damages. Never injure another person. Don't injure or harm them in business. Don't injure or harm them socially. Don't speak gossip or slander. Don't forget to reciprocate an invitation. Don't ignore a text message or a voicemail. If we want to master being a chassid, you want to be a righteous person, you want to be selflessly devoted, you want to go above and beyond interpersonally, then understand and pledge, promise, and commit to never injure, to never harm another person. The third opinion is l'kayim milei de avos. The third opinion is master Pirkei Avos, ethics of our fathers. Ethics of our fathers, what does that have to do with me and God? What does it have to do with me and others? The answer is ethics of our fathers, Pirkei Avos, it's a lesson plan. Pirkei Avos is a curriculum of midos. how we can be our best selves, how we can break through in our character growth, how we can live the lives we're meant to live, make the difference we're meant to make. And that is the world between us and ourselves. So 3 opinions in that Gemara. How do you become a Chassid? What should one study? What should one master in order to become a Chassid? The first opinion is Milei de Brachos. Learn about blessings. Make a blessing. See the world as a blessing. Recognize the blessings. Connect and attach to God. Selflessly do chesed. Recognize and realize the source of it all and say thank you. Second opinion is Milei de Nezikin. Interpersonally. Never hurt, never damage, never injure another party. Live a life of virtue interpersonally. And the last is Milei de Avos. Learn Pirkei Avos and master ourselves. The relationship we have with ourselves. Be kind to ourselves and grow in our midos and our character traits. Says the Ramchal, Gemilas Chasadim, being a person who volunteers, a person who shows up, a person who's loving and kind to others, is a core, it is central to what it means to be a chassid. Chasidus atzmo nigzar mi chesed. The word chassid and chasidus comes from the word chesed. So to be a chassid and to retreat to the corner of the Beis Medrash of the shul, to be a chassid and to be narcissistic, egocentric, to be a chassid, to care only about yourself, it's a contradiction. You're not a chassid. Culturally, you could be a chassid. You can, in wardrobe, be a chassid, but in personality and in character, you cannot be a chassid if you don't practice chesed. So when you hear someone else is in pain, do you try to relieve them of that pain? Someone is struggling, do you try to make their life a little bit better? When someone needs a pick-me-up, are you the one who makes the phone call? Someone needs a meal, do you drop it off? Do we have an inclination and an intuition to chesed? Because you can only really be a chassid if you practice chesed. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos in fact tells us that the world exists on 3 things. And one of the 3 pillars that holds the whole world up is acts of loving kindness. And this is what the Mishnah in Pei accounts in the Mishnah in Pei, we say every morning in our davening, a fruit a person enjoys in this world, but the capital endures for him in the world to come. Meaning, the kickback, the joy, the benefit of doing chesed for others, we feel it in this world. But the core, the principle of the investment we've made by being kind to others, that is reserved for us. The principle remains intact for the world to come. Furthermore, our rabbi said in the Mishnah in Sota, the Gemara in Sota, Torah tchilasa gemilas chasadim, v'sofa gemilas chasadim. The Torah both begins and ends with acts of chesed. It is bookended in with acts of chesed. So that is so critically important. We have to be righteous in our shuckling and davening. We have to be vigilant in our observance of Jewish law. Critically important, non-negotiable. They should be agenda and they should be goals for all of us. But to be a chassid, you want to be labeled righteous, you want to meet that expectation, you have to practice chesed. We in our lives have to ask ourselves, where is the chesed? You know, all of this, by the way, is contained in the acronym Elul. We are in the final days of the month of Elul. We are counting down and preparing to come before our Maker on Rosh Hashanah and to make the argument, hopefully compellingly and persuasively, why he needs to bring us back another year. Elul is an acronym. There's the relationship with God. I am to my beloved, he is to me. But there's also the interpersonal with others. Do I practice kindness? Am I generous to others? Elul stands for so many things. Then there's the relationship I have with myself in this week's parsha. Es levavcha ve'es levav. Elul is an acronym for circumcising my heart and the heart of my children, peeling back the layers that are preventing me from feeling, from being inspired, from a tender heart. So all 3 of these realms, in the relationship between man and God, in the relationship between man and man, in the relationship between man and himself or herself, one has to connect in these ways with chesed. And furthermore, we said, if you have the following 3 character traits, it is evidence that you are the progeny of Avram. Rachaman, Baishan, Gomel, Chasadim. Compassion, modesty, you blush, and kindness. Chesed, doing acts of loving kindness, showing up, being of service to others is even greater than writing a check. Tzedakah is just money. Now, some people, they would rather give their limbs, their organs, than give their money. But it's just money. You write the check, you Venmo, you Zelle, you transfer the money. But chesed is begufo. You've got to drive, you've got to wake up, you've got to lift, you've got to carry, you've got to cook, you've got to work, you've got to do chesed, acts of loving kindness, to be of service is to give a greater resource, namely ourselves. Tzedakah la'aniyim, tzedakah, charities for the poor. But acts of loving kindness, the rich person who's in the hospital still needs a visit. The rich person who's sitting shiva still needs to be comforted. Tzedakah l'chaim, you write a check, money is for the living. But chesed we do for the living and for the dead. So chassid is from chesed. You cannot be a chassid. You cannot reach this level of the formula, this step in self-actualization and realization if we're not practicing chesed. So particularly this time of year, when everyone's focused on our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with God, don't leave out the relationship we have with others. Be of service to others. Be of service to your community. 8:45, Living with Emunah. 9 o'clock tonight, going behind the beam with Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, to talk about her faith, her endurance and resilience after her loss, and so much more. You can be notified real time every time we go live and learn. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. Subscribe, and you'll find that in real time when we are learning together. To sponsor a future shir, brsonline.org/sponsor, brsonline.org/sponsor. Have a phenomenal day. Stay happy, stay holy, and stay happy, holy, and healthy.